Thank you, Mr. President. These speeches on the scheme by dark money interests to seize control of the Supreme Court are designed to describe it in all its repulsive intricacy. My last speech discussed an operation in this scheme within the Federalist Society. This speech will take you literally down the hall from the Federalist Society to something called the Judicial Crisis Network, or JCN. They share the same purpose, the same hallway, and likely the same controlling donors. Remember David Koch's disastrous bid for vice president on the Libertarian Party ticket that showed how unappetizing his right-wing extremism was to normal people. And remember the Lewis Powell Playbook, which advised, and I quote here, "Strength lies in organization and in the political power available only through united action and national organizations. No one corporation or wealthy individual needs to, as Powell said, get too far out in front and make itself too visible a target," end quote. Let intermediaries do that work. Corporate interests like big tobacco and the fossil fuel industry have for a long time used coordinated webs of national front groups in their plots to fend off accountability for the dangers of tobacco and carbon emissions. These front group webs grew and multiplied and specialized, all while concealing their true interests and funders. They got more numerous, and they also got smarter and more strategic over time, polishing up front group names like the not too subtle Tobacco Institute to names like the more wholesome sounding Heartland Institute. It's quite a web. They created science groups to counter real scientific research on public health and climate change with fake science. Think tanks to churn out white papers and hire soundbite-friendly fake experts. Legal organizations to challenge and delay government regulation of harmful products. Academic hothouses in which to grow donor-friendly right-wing judicial philosophies. Identity laundering screens to hide the true donors and controllers and their interests, and political attack groups to pressure elected officials. People who study this have reported these groups numbering in multiple dozens, and their backers play the front groups like keys on a piano. Apply this method to the scheme to capture the court, and you see that the dark money donors needed more than just the nominations turnstile that they ran out of the Federalist Society. They also needed a bare-knuckle political brawler. One night in early 2005, at an upscale Italian dinner with special guest Justice Antonin Scalia, major donor and corporate lawyer Ann Corkery, California real estate tycoon Robin Arkley, and Federalist Society Executive Vice President Leonard Leo got together and celebrated George W. Bush's second term. The political importance of the Supreme Court would have been on everyone's mind there, as it was the 5 Republicans on the Supreme Court who gave George W. Bush his first term. According to reporting by Open Secrets and the Daily Beast, this dinner linked to the creation of a 501c4 dark money group, then called the Judicial Confirmation Network. By the end of that year, this group would spend money, lots of money, lots of big donor money, and they would spend it anonymously. First, to boost John Roberts as Chief Justice, and then Samuel Alito as Associate Justice, cementing right-wing corporate control over the court and shifting its decisions further in big donors' favor. There are a few things to note about the Judicial Confirmation Network's early days. One, it began work fast. Just months after starting, JCN ads hit the air in support of Bush nominees. Two, it had lots of money. Beginning in 2008, Ann Corkery took control of something called the Wellspring Committee, a dark money identity laundering group seeded with funding from Charles and David Koch's donor network. Thereafter, Wellspring funneled 7- or 8-figure dark money donations to JCN every year, millions of anonymous dollars. 3, they brought on a lawyer with heavy right-wing chops to run the place. Wendy Long, a former clerk to Justice Clarence Thomas, became chief counsel and mouthpiece. Thus, in just a few months, JCN appeared and became a polished, powerful, anonymized campaigner for the big donor scheme to take over the court. And then came the election of Barack Obama. And JCN had to go from offense for nominees to defense against nominees. That C in JCN for confirmation no longer made much sense. And the scheme now faced a crisis. The crisis for it of a president nominating judges who had not been screened by them, judges whose fealty to the corporate right wing could not be confirmed, judges who might even rule against the right-wing donors' agenda. So they quickly rebranded JCN as the Judicial Crisis Network. But even in the Obama years, the Republican 5-4 majority on the captured court delivered big things for JCN and its secretive backers. In the administration's first term, the Roberts Court handed down Citizens United and other decisions opening donor pipelines to 501c4 groups like JCN. This caused the tsunami of slime we saw in our politics, and corporations and right-wing donors rushed to the feast. Anonymous money flooded in. Annual donations laundered through Wellspring to JCN rose from millions of dollars to many millions of dollars. JCN even expanded the scheme to seek to influence state Supreme Courts and state attorney general seats. The scheme was flourishing. Then, on a 2016 all-expenses-paid trip for Justice Scalia to a luxury hunting ranch in Texas, the justice died, leaving a Supreme Court vacancy with the better part of a year left before the presidential election. Now there really was a crisis. The big donors suddenly faced the prospect of a Democratic president appointing Scalia's replacement, shifting the balance of the court 5-4 against them, taking away their precious majority, undoing the scheme. So the donors swung into action. Within days, Mitch McConnell quickly pledged to hold the seat open. And within days, Republican senators uniformly lined up behind that decision. A decision very possibly explained by the overlay between dark money donors to the scheme and dark money donors to Republican Senate political operations. History will have to judge the extent of that overlay. In any event, dark money funding of JCN hit escape velocity during this period. According to tax records obtained by Open Secrets and others, JCN received big donations in fiscal year 2015 to 2016. One single anonymous donation alone totaled $17.9 million. Wellspring separately channeled $23.5 million in dark money to JCN in 2016, then another $14.8 million the next year. When Wellspring dissolved in 2018, big slugs of dark money continued to flow through other conduits. JCN received 4 separate individual anonymous donations, each of $15 million or more, following Justice Scalia's death. We cannot say for sure because the donors hide behind the dark money screen, but these donations, over $60 million in all, could well have all come from the same donor. And one wonders, what are the odds that someone willing to spend $60 million anonymously to influence the makeup of the Supreme Court is someone who has business before the court? Pretty high, I would say. But dark money scheming keeps this information secret. How did JCN spend all this money? Attack. Leonard Leo's Federalist Society operation had handed Trump a list of approved nominees. JCN spending poured into TV ads, pressuring senators, and to media blitzes to sell the Federalist Society list. The group spent $7 million to attack Merrick Garland, $10 million to boost Neil Gorsuch, $10 million or more to prop up Brett Kavanaugh's deeply troubled nomination with its now we know fake FBI tip line, and $10 million in under 2 months to support Amy Coney Barrett. On its own, this anonymous $37 million barrage smells terrible, but it's only part of the Judicial Crisis Network operation. JCN has a corporate twin, the Judicial Education Project, each group backing up the actions and finances of the other.